So ultrasound is quickly becoming kind of the stethoscope for musculoskeletal conditions. And it's changed a great deal over the last 20 years. We used to have these large ultrasound units that took up a whole room. And now it's become more of a point of care. People have them in their offices. We have some that you can actually carry around. And we even have some now like this butterfly that can be plugged into your smartphone. They're becoming smaller, cheaper, and much more readily available. So what do we use ultrasound for? Well, diagnostically, we can use it to identify masses. Are they solid? Are they fluid filled? We can look at tendons to find out if they are stable, if the subsheaths are stable. We can measure structures. We can actually look at how large a structure is. And we frequently use this in identifying different sizes of nerves and cysts. It's a dynamic test. As we all know, when we get an MRI or an ultrasound or a CT, it's a static test, and there's no motion unless we're doing this dynamic CT scan evaluation. Now, one of the things, as Peter said, after you do your history and physical, sometimes I like to use the ultrasound as an echo palpation. The patient identifies exactly where it hurts, and I can use the ultrasound to kind of scan over that region. We'll show you some of those pictures in a minute. It can also be used therapeutically. Use it for injection, identify needle placement, where I advance my needle. I can look for structures I want to miss. We can visualize the injectate. I can actually limit the amount of injectate I use just because I can see exactly where it's going. With cysts, we can ensure that we get complete aspirations. We'll talk about it a little later. Most of them are multilobulated, so it's hard to get all the different components of the cyst. One of the biggest drawbacks, however, is that it has a very narrow field of view. I mean, it's less than 2 millimeters, which is about a credit card thick. So you don't have a lot of view. So I want to take this opportunity, and Sanj, can you confirm you can see my pointer? Or do I have to go to this?
Yeah, we can see you, Jeff.
Okay, so since we're talking about elder-sided wrist pain, I kind of want to use this picture. This is actually a ECU in long axis. And I'm going to kind of identify some of the structures. Harder structures or bone, like the distal ulna right here, are hyperechoic, meaning they bounce the ultrasound wave off more. And each different structure has a different echogenicity. Here we can see the fibrillation pattern of the ECU. And here we can actually see the ulnar triquetral ligament, which is just an enlargement of the dorsal capsule. One of the things we have a little difficulty seeing is the interosseous component of the TFCC. So ultrasound does not see well between osseous structures. But sometimes when we're looking at the ultrasound, we may see a little abnormality. And like Peter said, if you do enough imaging, you're going to find something wrong. We have components within the ultrasound to actually identify if something may be causing pain. And that's color Doppler. What this can show is actually if there's any hyperemic state or if there's anything inflamed or additional blood flow being brought to. And if we identify an area, like here you're wondering, oh, there's maybe a little bit of increased blood flow there, we can actually enlarge it. And this turns out to be on multiple imaging to be a tenosynovitis of the ECU tendon. So we can use different modalities within the ultrasound to identify if there is pathology. Now, one of the big questions that is always sent to us is there instability of the ECU tendon or does it dislocate? This can be very perplexing. In fact, Lee et al. In musculoskeletal imaging has identified that the ECU tendon actually dislocates greatest in supination and ulnar deviation. So we can actually put the wrist in supination and ulnar deviation with the ultrasound and try to identify if the ECU tendon actually comes out of the valley over the ridge. If it perches on the ridge, it's just subluxation. If it actually goes over the ridge, it's dislocation. But sometimes it's hard to identify if that's actually causing the problem. And we actually have a great internal control, the contralateral side or the asymptomatic side. And Rossi and et al. In the Journal of Ultrasound Medicine has showed that, there shouldn't be a great difference between side to side. For most structures, it's less than 2 millimeters, including subluxation of the ECU tendon. In fact, this patient was seen for left-sided dorsal wrist pain, ulnar wrist pain, and even though we looked at her other side, she perched or subluxed just as much. So it's hard to say with the use of color Doppler that her ECU is actually causing her symptomatology. Now, as I said, ultrasound can also be a dynamic test. And as we discussed, between pronation and supination, the ECU tendon can actually sublux. And this is a patient going from pronation, where the ECU is actually inside or in the valley and then popping over the ridge. It doesn't quite sublux, but you can see it here. It's actually purging on the ridge. So I should say it's sublux, but it does not dislocate. If we'd use color Doppler, we could identify if there's a subsheath abnormality or increased blood flow in that region. As I said, we use the ultrasound too to find out if masses are cysts, if they're fluid filled, or if they're solid. This is actually looking at the ulnar side of the wrist, the ulna triquetrum, and this is actually a cyst originating off of the ulnar aspect of the wrist through the capsule. And there's been multiple studies done looking at, can we see the TFCC via ultrasound? Because it's interosseous, it's very difficult to see the inside or the meniscal component of the TFCC. But if we have pathology like this or a cyst, we can hypothesize that there's at least damage to the capsule. And on repetitive imaging of this cyst, it actually turns out to be multilobulated. So there are several little cysts within this cyst. And ultrasound can actually help us identify those individual cysts for not only aspiration, but fenestration. We've all had the experience where we've aspirated a cyst and it comes back, in a short period afterwards. By using ultrasound, we can actually go after the stalk of the cyst and try to obliterate that as well. So we can actually see where our needle is. And I'll illustrate that in the next, or in another slide. But what I wanted to show you here is we can actually identify different structures. This is Guillen's canal. And here we can see the hypoechoic ulnar artery right next to the ulnar nerve within Guillen's canal. And we can sequentially look at different levels of the nerve to identify if there's any enlargement or swelling that could be compatible with compression or neuropathy. And in fact, on our last slide here, I want to show you a picture. This is actually how we use the ultrasound for injections or therapeutically. Here we have the hyperechoic needle actually coming in, and what we're injecting here is a superficial ulnar branch neuroma. So you can see that we're staying quite a ways away from the nerve. We're not infiltrating the nerve. So it helps us identify the subsheath around the nerve and infiltrate that only. And with that, I want to say thank you. Wish we were in warm India, but